Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Black Rose here. So, I thought of doing something interesting. So, I made this theory video with a lot of research and stuff. So, I hope you guys like it. And yeah, let's get straight to the video, fellow armies. I opened the door, went into the storage room of the classroom. This is the place that Jen is talking about. It was a hideout during their high school days. They used to hang out and skip classes and stay here all the time. In the middle of summer night, the odor of mold and dust mixed into the humid diffused. When I got in, I had flashbacks of many different moments. I started to remember Principal's shiny shoes. So, this may refer to the day when Jin first met the principal when he came to Korea from America. This note is the HYYH era notes. You could pause and read the notes so you could get to know what actually am I talking about. Namjoon's facial expression when he was standing outside the door. Before you continue with the video, do read this note so you could understand everything. So, Jin was basically controlled by the principal through a earpiece. He was forced to tell upon Yoongi and Tae. And here is the earpiece that I was talking about. But Jin didn't realize that Namjoon was standing outside the door, hearing the whole conversation that he had with the principal on his earpiece. The day I ignored Hoseok and walked back alone. So this is one of the Jungkook's Love Yourself tier notes. In here, it is mentioned that Jin leaves Hoseok alone in the classroom and ignored him and went away. He mentions that the day when everything basically ended, the day when Jungkook and J-Hope met alone in their classroom for the last time because it was the last day of the school, and Jungkook realized that those days won't come again. So basically everything started to turn bad because of Jin's one decision of telling on his friends, for which Suga was expelled for 10 days. So that explains the line that he left Hoseok alone. My head started aching and I got chills. I had this complex feeling that overwhelmed me with pain. It's hard to explain this feeling exactly, but it wasn't annoyance nor fear. The sign was clear. I knew I had to get out of this place. I think here Jin is talking about how uncomfortable he feels because all of the bad memories and how hurt and suffocating he's feeling because of it, and he can't accept the mistakes he has done and tries running away from it. It seemed like if Taeyong knew what was going through my mind and he held my arm. Hyung, try a little harder. Try remembering what happened here. Then I got Tae's hands off of me and turned back. We walked through the heat for hours. We were as tired as we could be. Other guys looked at me as if they didn't know what to say to me. Memory. What Taeyong said about memory was just an empty, meaningless story. That I did that it happened to me. The story that we did something together. It's possible that it happened. I do think we did that. However, memory isn't something that you can understand or accept. You can't understand experience through just listening to something. Experience is something that is deeply rooted in your mind, head, and soul. But for me, the memories I had about the place were only filled with bad things, the things that only made me painful and want to escape. So, after reading this para, you could see that Jin has lost his memory. We all know that Jin is time traveling. He travels back into time to fix all the wrongdoings and bad memories. But when everyone takes him to the same classroom where they used to meet up, he could only remember the original memory, that is the bad memories. But when every member forces Jin to remember the memory that is not even true, he gets all confused and messed up. So if you're confused at this point, I would say that jinn armies have made a theory of jinn time traveling and changing the bad memories to the good ones. So after he lost his memories, he could only remember the original one because he couldn't remember the alternative world that he left behind because it was all an illusion and not the truth. A fight happened between me and Taeyong, who tried to stop me from going back and leaving. But we were both exhausted. The action of hitting and dodging felt heavy and slow, as if we were in a heat viscous liquid. It all happened in sudden when Taeyong and I tripped over each other. My shoulders bumped into the wall and I fluttered as I lost my balance. At first, I couldn't tell what happened. I couldn't open my eyes or breathe due to the dust that filled up the whole area. I started to cough continuously. Then I heard, "Are you okay?" I only realized that I fell after hearing the person. As soon as I tried to get up, I saw something that I thought of it was wall crumbled. Then I saw a huge space over the crumbled walls. No one moved at that moment. "Oh my world," someone said. "We spent such a long time here. No one ever once imagined that there would be a space beyond the walls." But what is that? As the dust settled down, we were able to see cabinet standing in center of the empty space. As you saw in the previous clips, Namjoon broke the cabinet but found bulletproof ways instead of the diary. I think that Namjoon is the one who exchanged it for the diary because in their new concept pics that BTS has just released, you could see that Namjoon, Tae, and Jin are the only ones who are not tied by the string. And it is because Namjoon and Tae knew the truth that Jin tried to hide when he complained to the principal about all the members. Namjoon opened the cabinet. I took a step closer. There was a note inside the cabinet. Namjoon picked the note up and turned to the first page. I instantly held my breath. The first page of the note, that seemed pretty old, had an unexpected name written on it. That was my father's name. As Namjoon tried to flip page over another page, I snatched the note away from him. Namjoon seemed to be surprised and looked at me, but he didn't seem to mind too much about my actions. I went through the bookshelf with my fingers and an old note that was about to crumble tipped over. Maybe Namjoon wasn't that surprised because he was the one who placed the diary over there because he wasn't that much affected by Jin's actions. The book written in my father's handwriting was a diary written by my father. He recorded the things he experienced with his friends in high school. All the days weren't recorded. Sometimes the diary skipped a month and there were all pages covered with bloodstains. I knew that my father went through the same thing as me. He also made a mistake in his life and tried to run and run to make up his mistakes. The things written on my father's note were the records of his failures. My father ended up giving up and failing. He forgot, ignored, and avoided it. He lost his friends. He gave up on his friends. The last page only had a date written on it, and the rest of the page was smudged with dark ink. The ink stained the next page, and the following pages were nothing was written on it. That stain seemed to show my father's failure, like if it was some sort of announcement, speech, advocate. There can be apparently two theories here. It can be one, Jin's father being strict all the time with Jin because he doesn't want his son to suffer the same as he did. And it the other theory being Jin's dad himself, like he is the dad and he is the son, like he has two personalities because he travels back to the time where in euphoria to change all the bad memories into the good ones so that they could have a good future. And but Jin forgets his memories, which may be due to the day when Jin jumped in the sea instead of Tae. He had his memories captured in his camera to remember it all. Because he was continuously living a dual identity, he had his good memories captured in his camera while all the bad memories in his mind. The day when he jumped, he spoiled the camera, which resulted in losing his good memories with the members. For me, the most relevant theory I think is Jin's dad being Jin himself, because he travels back into time and changes the past and changes everything, which results in good and happy future. But when Jin jumps instead of Tae, he forgets everything and remembers only the truth and not the alternative truth that he created. I don't know how much the time passed. All my senses got hazy. I felt the cool breeze blowing over the window, and I knew it was the darkest time of the day. The time right before the sun rose. My dongsangs included. Namjoon was scattered around sleeping. I looked up the ceiling. I remembered seeing my dad's name written somewhere up there. Then I saw a sentence written below my father's name. Everything started from here. The words everything started here refers to the day when Jin exposed the hideout to the principal and Yoongi got expelled. So basically this is the place that messed them really badly, because from that day they didn't see each other much, they didn't meet up that much, and the relationship that they had just broke. And as the line was written in the notes that at the last day only Jungkook and Hoesuk were together, and from that day they didn't see each other anymore. So basically everything started from here. Everything was messed up over here. I felt something from the tip of my fingers when I was about to close the note. I was able to see the letters written under the ink stain. I felt something out the window. I guess the sun was about to rise, but it didn't mean that the night ended yet. It was neither night or dawn. As the darkness and hazy light intervened, I was able to faintly see the words on the line from the darkly stained page. Rifa! The note contained memories that were beyond something that was recorded. On top of the words in the space between the lines, the things that my father decided to forget and not remember remained on the pages. The color faded away, but the traces of how the pen were pressed onto the paper were still left. My father's time of fear, hopelessness, despair, and his frail hope swirled around. My father's twisted map of soul was reflected and left on the note. When I closed the note, I teared up. I looked at each one of them. Maybe we had to come back here. Everything started here. I realized the meaning of the joy of being together and being able to laugh together. The initial mistake that I committed, the mistake that I was never able to confess, was left like a scar. I thought all of these things couldn't be a coincidence. Eventually, I had to get here so that I will be able to find out the mistakes and faults that I had committed and find the meaning behind the pain and my agony, and perhaps take a step closer to finding a map to my soul. Jin finally realized it was all fate. They had to get back here to get all the answers, to actually learn the meaning of life. A person has to go through pain and agony to find the meaning of life. He has to have bad times to know the value of the good ones. He realizes his mistake. He understands how he messed up everything. Yeah, it was harder for him to confess his wrongdoings to himself, but by doing that, he would be a step closer to finding his meaning of life.
다이어트. 이 멤버들이 평화를 찾거나 이 조용하게 있고 싶을 때는 주로 어디를 가나요?
Yes, I go to the place without Jin.
오케이, 바이바이.
Yeah.